Hey guys, I'm E-House.
I'm Andre.
And this week, we're going to be talking about a subject, actually, one that we were speaking about very recently.
Yep.
And that's about what type of primary you choose to run on the airsoft field and how that decision might affect how you play. All right, well, I'm a rifle guy personally. I've got my Crytek here. This is my gun, basically. Well, I mean, it is my gun. I own it, but this is the gun I run the most. And the first thing I want to start off with is, why is the rifle the most popular platform in airsoft? And I think it's fair to say most people run rifles.
Generally, when you pick up airsoft, people gravitate straight to a rifle.
Yeah, and I would say that is because the rifle is the easiest platform to learn. One of the big things that you gain with a rifle, a lot of people will mention stuff like range and accuracy, but honestly, if you put both of these guns in a vise with the Tokyo Marui hop up and all that good stuff Andre's done to it, these two guns would probably shoot very, very similar. What I would say to you makes a rifle much easier is actually the contact that you have with the rifle. So if you look at when I have this rifle on my body and I'm in a shooting position, I have contact with this rifle on my shoulder, on my firing hand, on my support hand, and in some cases, for people like me, you'll also have some support from your sling. So I also have a cheek weld. So I have 4 base points of contact with this rifle, 5 with the sling, and I can get that rifle very steady, I can acquire that optic very easily, and I can shoot this rifle very effectively without a whole lot of effort. Once you zero this red dot, and if you know any fundamentals of marksmanship, it's really not hard to shoot a rifle.
And I wanted to pause for Eric for a second here. Don't underestimate red dots. I hear this all the time in the airsoft field when I'm reffing or just out in the playing field. All the time I hear people saying, oh, red dots really don't do anything for airsoft. And that's bullshit. Because they do. And they actually work. If you sighted it correctly, whether it be 50 to 100 feet, it will hit every single time. You might get a couple flyers, but that's just the nature of airsoft.
I'm going to agree with you on that one. I think red dots are fantastic. They're my favorite optic. But that little ramble aside, that's another thing, though, to mention is you've got a red dot on that pistol.
I do.
Well, when we're talking about optics and sighting systems, rifles have the general advantage because you have that reference point with your cheek, you have that extra support, and you have a much longer sight radius. So if you're using iron sights, what that means is you have a greater distance between your front sight and your rear sight. That means that it's easier to line up and your margin of error for those sights is going to be a bit reduced. Now, there's a much more technical definition of sight radius that honestly I am too lazy to remember right now. But basically, the longer your sights are, the more likely you are to be able to be accurate with them because it makes them easier to use. And you spend less time chasing your sights. And then with a red dot, because it's going to be in the same place every time, as long as the rest of your contact points are on point, you're going to be able to acquire that red dot much more easily and much more quickly for most people who have any amount of practice on a rifle. So that's why when you see a player such as myself who is very rifle heavy, my pistol is really kind of my secondary weapon. Now, I like to think I'm okay with my pistol, but really my rifle is what I use until it goes down or runs dry. My pistol is what I use in an emergency. Usually I'm reloading the rifle. The pistol is a secondary weapon because for me, with how much faster I can shoot my rifle, with how much more stable I am with my rifle at range, my pistol is much better for me at closer range. Also, some of the limitations of this FNX that I've gone over in previous videos, but you know, my pistol is my secondary. I only need this to go off, get out to 70 to 80 feet, and keep me out of trouble long enough to get my rifle back in the game, because for me, with my practice and what I've done, my rifle is my strong weapon. This is my secondary.
And I can attest to him using his secondary very, very good. He does it such an amazing job. It's so flawless. He pulls it out and he uses it. Although he doesn't use it a lot, but he does use it. I've seen some people in the field that don't use it at all. They just have it there, and I've never seen them use it.
Well, you know, I got the 15-foot MED with my rifles.
Right.
You gotta, if you're getting into a building, that's another situation where the secondary is very useful. A lot of people don't carry pistols, but they'll have a rifle that shoots like 400 feet per second. It's like, dude, you're not going to be clearing any buildings. So having a pistol, again, it's a secondary weapon, but it is valuable. It's situational. You might not use it a ton, But that just means you won't be maintaining it a ton, and that means you won't be spending a ton of money on it once you buy it. Right. So bear that in mind.
All right, so in my case, I used to be a rifle person for most of my airsoft career. Just in the last 2 years, I was going to say 2 years is a little shy, under 2 years, but let's call it 2 years.
I would say it's been, about a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, so I have been most predominantly using rifles, but I kind of just got really bored with my rifle. I've had plethora of different rifles, and it just got really boring on the airsoft field. It got a little cumbersome, a little heavy when we were playing certain games where people weren't pushing out far enough, and I just couldn't hold on to it. Not that, I'm not weak or anything, it just got kind of tiring after a while. So I kind of ditched it, and I picked myself a TM High Kappa, and I just kind of built the crap out of it, just, trying different things out. I loved it. I felt like I did a lot better with a pistol than I ever did with a rifle, which is weird, even though I'm pretty good with a rifle.
No, you're never bad with a rifle.
No, you never lose. You never lose. It's like riding a bike. You pick it up, you know exactly which end is up. And I mean, I can attest to that because I was playing one time, and we're playing some sort of a game mode, and my pistol went down. I had no more mags, and I seen a rental gun from our local field, and I just saw it sitting there. I'm like, oh, okay, I can just pick this up. I picked it up, and I used it for till the game was over. And that, like I said, you don't lose that. It's like a bike.
Well, then you used my Crytac LMG for one game.
See, it's like a bike. You'll never forget. But anyway, to the pistol. When you go to a pistol, it's a whole nother ball game. You got to make sure everything is lined up. And like I said, don't underestimate your sights. Some people prefer red dots and some people don't. And I can do pretty well. I'm still learning the red dot, but I'm pretty good with it. But when you have a pistol, sights are very important. You want to make sure you line those guys up and you sight them in at your local range or even at your house. Set up some targets from 50 to 100 feet, however you want to set it up. But do not underestimate your sights because they are very valuable on the airsoft field, especially with pistols. You might not think that it's going to do a whole lot, but it actually really helps you a lot. And it especially transitions over to real steel. I'm not going to get into that, but it really helped me. When I've never shot real steel, and this guy took me out, and I did phenomenal with pistols, and it was just a fun time. So don't underestimate your red dot ability, or your iron sight abilities. Switching over to the red dot, on the other hand, it's a little different. It's not like your rifles where you have the 3 points of contact. As soon as you put your head down, that red dot lines up right with your eye. With pistols, it's kind of a cat and mouse game. You got to keep searching for it until you find that rhythm. The best way to do that is make sure you line up the iron sights first and just peek your eyes up a little bit, and the red dot is right there. It's super easy as long as you keep repetition at your house or even on the airsoft field or range wherever. Just make sure you line that up, and the red dot will be right there. Just do the iron sights trick, and it'll be right there. And soon as you know it, you don't even need to use the iron sights anymore. Just point, and you're going to be right on track.
And I know with some of the red dots that co-witness with iron sights, the manufacturers and the instructors will usually say you still want to acquire your front sight as you press out. If you can't, because these don't co-witness, then your method is the one they recommend. Right. So, there's some instructional basis for what Andre is saying.
That generally applies to like Glock frames where the sights are a little higher. On the high capos or 1911s, they don't really have.
Or if you have a slide-mounted red dot with suppressor sights.
Right. They don't have too many of those high iron sights for pistols, but you can find them for the high capa market. You just gotta look a little bit.
Yep.
But other side from that, once you start picking up a pistol, you just want to keep running it until you get it nailed, because it's not as easy as picking up a rifle. It really takes a lot of time, especially, this is airsoft. You don't have a ton of recoil. It still takes a lot of holding down to make sure that front sight and the rear sight always line up every time you shoot.
Well, that's the biggest thing, is sight picture.
Right. So you always want to maintain that when you're going off with pistols. It'll take you, a good while, like a month or two, till you get that down. But you just got to keep pounding and keep pushing away at it, so you will eventually get it.
But here's the thing that I want to ask, because we've gone over what's challenging about pistols, but what do you gain?
Out of pistols?
Yeah.
With pistols, you gain a lot more maneuverability. You can get into things, like places that are usually too tight for rifles. Like for instance, I had one guy come up to me, we're playing a capture the flag game, and I got really low and really down tight, and I just kept taking him out every single time. He's like, wow, you got really low. I'm like, it's just the advantage with the pistol. You can get down really low and just can continue with your sight picture. So you gain that maneuverability and being able to get down in tighter spaces without having to, do much work at all.
It's also a lot easier to shoot one-handed. Because if you're trying to manage an objective or raise a flag, it's a lot easier to hold this than it is to hold this.
Right.
I mean, I can do it pretty well, but not every airsoft player goes to the gym like I do.
Or some airsoft players are a lot smaller.
Exactly.
They can't hold a gun for various amounts of time with one hand. With a pistol, though, holding it one hand is even just as tricky as doing both hands, because you gotta make sure you keep that recoil down. Again, it's airsoft, don't have a major recoil, but it does affect you in some capacity. But holding that one hand, you gotta really practice that as well.
But I would say the other thing that I picked up on listening to you also, one of the big advantages of pistols for a lot of people that, this being airsoft, it is a game after all, it's fun.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's great. People would come out into the field and, they got GBBs and they got Polar Stars and AGs, you got the whole variety of different propellants out there, and then you just come up rolling with a pistol and people are like, what are you gonna do? And then you just wreck them. That's the best feeling in the world. You're just using straight up pistols and nothing else is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, and it's a whole different set of dynamics that there is to practice. I mean, that's why I practice with my pistol. Even though I don't use it a ton in the field, it's fun.
It's hilarious.
What's not fun about having a pistol that you get to use and press out on target?
Not many people, like you mentioned, use pistols. I mean, it's you buy a pistol for a reason. Why aren't you using it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Airsoft being a game, pistols are a unique challenge. I mean, I've done a couple of games where I've run with only my pistol, and I'm not going to claim I did super well, but it was fun. It was something different.
Nobody can ever do super well. It's just fun and different. If you'd like to push yourself, pick up a pistol, even a shotgun. You can.
Shotguns. Those are a
super great. Like, just completely putting yourself in a different situation. It's so much fun.
Yeah. So, I guess that's kind of all there is to say. Rifles, they're very easy to shoot. They're very performance oriented. They're kind of simple.
Yeah.
Pistols, more complicated, but
fun.
And a lot more fun, and they do offer some advantages with maneuverability, and especially if they chrono well below your field's limits, then you also will often have no minimum engagement with your pistol, especially if it's semi-auto.
That's even more fun.
Yep. So, one thing I feel like rifles have a big advantage with too, honestly, is I feel like there's more rifles out there that are primary ready out of the box.
Yeah.
I mean, there are pistols out there you can run as a primary out of the box, but they might have durability issues, they might have reliability issues, but I feel like, with Crytac, G&P, the Polar Star prepackaged kits, there's a lot more grab-and-go rifles out there. And I think that's something that the pistol market kind of suffers from. There's not a lot of really grab-and-go immediate pistols. I mean, we're starting to see some companies try to correct that. Yeah, the Armor Works pistols are...
I would say the Armor Works pistols right out of the box. You can run and gun those right out of the box. I mean, they already come with a 603 Type 1
But that's a very recent change.
Right, it is a very recent change, but a change nonetheless.
It is, absolutely.
So it is ready out of the box if you get the Gen 2s, like the hybrid slide ones. Those are already I would say semi-pre-upgrade. They have a new Type 4 barrel and new bucking and some sort of new hop-up system that I'm not going to get into. But there are some pistols that are grab and go out of the box, but most of the time they're really not. Yeah. And especially with the high kappas. I mean, they come with a plastic slide, and that eventually will break because not a lot of people have the money to drop into HPA, so they can't run at a lower PSI, so the slide doesn't break. And B, most of the propellants here are green gas or propane, and that will I would say immediately, but it will break the slide in no time at all.
Yeah.
So right out of the box, the team for the U.S. market is not grab and go ready out of the box. It will last quite some time, but it will eventually break. So the one thing that the airsoft community does like is grab and go right out of the box pistols.
That said, there are some cool pistol builds you can do.
I mean, high kappas are, and Glocks, I would say. Glocks
are catching up.
They got some parts out there, especially if you go to the 3D printing. Yeah, Ken's Proud has a ton of pistol parts.
And again, it's just fun, so.
It's great. I mean, the cool thing about building your pistols, you can build it unique to yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're very color oriented, you like things nice and bright and different from everybody else, pistols are great. There's not a lot of bright colored parts out there for rifles.
I've got my rifle here that looks like every other M4. I mean, I love it because it works for me, but again, it's that
two-tone.
it's that performance-oriented, tactical thing versus that bright and flashy IDPA IPSC style.
Which is awesome. And
Yes.
it's fun to shoot
I
people
would.
with super bright colored pistols. It's like, oh my god. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Again, my name was Andre.
And I'm E-House.
Thanks for watching guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Hope this video was fun. We'll see you on the field. Peace.